Today, we're going to talk about a single extraordinary place, one that kind of challenges all our ideas about conflict and community. This is the story of what you might call an impossible village. Imagine this, on a hilltop, right between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, in the very heart of one of the world's most difficult conflicts, sits a village that, by all accounts, just shouldn't exist. And yet, for over 50 years, it has. So that just raises this huge question, right? What if coexistence isn't some far-off dream, but a daily deliberate choice? What actually happens when people decide to live with the other, not for some weekend workshop, but for life? What does that even look like, especially when the world outside is tearing itself apart?
To really get this place, we have to start with its name. Or actually, it's two names.
So the village is called Neve Shalom in Hebrew, and Wahat al-Salam in Arabic. And here's the thing, both names mean the exact same thing, oasis of peace. This isn't just about translation, it's the core principle of the whole community. It's a place built on the idea of two languages and two cultures sharing one single, powerful meaning. The village got its start back in 1970 and is now home to over 70 families. But here's the crucial part. Its population is strictly maintained. Half the residents are Jewish Israeli citizens, and the other half are Palestinian Israeli citizens. They share a bilingual school where kids learn in both Hebrew and Arabic. They have a joint government, and it's all built on that core principle of intentional coexistence. This wasn't an accident. It's all part of a very deliberate design. And a remarkable place like this, well, it didn't just spring up out of nowhere. It was the vision of one truly unique individual. The founder was a man named Bruno Hussar, and honestly, his own life story almost feels like it contains the village's entire philosophy. He was born in Egypt to a Jewish family, later converted to Catholicism, and then became a Dominican monk. He felt this profound calling to create a space where Jews, Christians, and Muslims could learn to live together, not just in theory, but in daily practice. And this was his vision. The key thing here is how active it is. It's not about just passively tolerating each other, putting up with your neighbors. Hussar's challenge was for residents to build something together, to create a shared life, a shared future that was so much more than just the absence of conflict. For 50 years, they built. They argued over local politics, they celebrated weddings and holidays together, and they raised children who saw their neighbors not as some abstract other, but as, well, neighbors. They built a life. But their greatest test, the moment that threatened to shatter everything, came just recently. The Hamas attack on Israel sent this shockwave of trauma across the whole country. And in this small village, that national trauma became deeply, painfully personal. The aftermath was just immediate and devastating. For the Jewish residents, there was profound shock and grief for the victims of the attack. And at the exact same time, Palestinian residents felt their own grief and this mounting terror, watching the bombardment of Gaza and fearing for family trapped there. Two immense parallel pains were suddenly living side by side. And the result was silence. The very foundation of the village, communication, it just crumbled. For weeks, neighbors who had shared their entire lives couldn't speak to each other. The pain was just too raw, the gap too wide. It was like the oasis of peace had completely run dry. But then something remarkable happened. They stayed. As one resident put it, they were facing the most difficult test they had ever known, but they didn't leave. They began the agonizing work of trying to talk again. Because as this quote says so powerfully, the struggle to connect is their identity. That is the whole essence of the village. Now, what's happening in this village isn't just an emotional story. It's also a powerful social experiment. It's kind of the ultimate test of a famous theory in social psychology. It's called the contact hypothesis, and the theory is pretty simple. Get different groups to interact, and you can reduce prejudice. But, and this is the crucial part, it only really works under specific conditions, like when both groups have equal status and they're working towards common goals. I mean, think about it. Lots of programs bring Jewish and Palestinian youth together for a day or maybe a week, and those can be great, but this village is different. It's not a program, it's life. The contact is continuous. It involves everyday arguments over garbage cans, and it also involves deep, painful reconciliations after national tragedies. This is what reinforces the humanity of the other, day after day. It's the hypothesis in its most intense and real form.
So, what can we take away from all this? In the middle of so much despair, Why does this one small village on a hill matter so much?
I think this quote from a Jewish resident really gets to the heart of it. This is the kind of moral muscle that living in the village develops. It's the ability to hold two competing, painful truths at the same time, to not let your own profound grief erase the reality of another person's suffering. That capacity, that is one of the rarest and most necessary things in the world today.
The core lesson here seems to be that empathy isn't a zero-sum game. Choosing to see the full humanity of another person doesn't diminish your own identity or invalidate your own pain. In fact, in a place like this, it might be the only way to truly hold on to your own humanity.
And let's be really clear, this village is not a utopia. It's messy, it's painful, and it's full of challenges. But its true value isn't in proving that coexistence is easy. Its value is in proving against all odds that it is possible. The people of Neve Shalom and Wahat al-Salam are still there. They are still building, still talking, still struggling. And in a world that is screaming at us to pick a side and hate the other, their quiet, difficult choice to stay and build together, well, it poses a profound question for all of us, doesn't it?